Welcome, everyone. Joe with ECRM and RangeMe here. And with me is Heather Mincer, who is the founder and head chick. We're going to get into that in a little bit at Yes Honey, which is the number 2 of the RangeMe top brands in food and beverage that was published in MMR magazine in this actually last month. So we're going to get into the company, the products, and a very interesting origin and refresh, brand refresh story. So, Heather, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations on making the Range Me Top Brands list. And to start off, could you give everybody an overview of your company as it is today, and its products?
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I was so excited to find out that we were the number 2 brand. So, yay for us. So Yes Honey is a soda, sauce, and syrup alternative company. We do honey sweetened sodas and we do honey drizzlers, which are sauce and syrup alternatives, like I said. And we just use freeze dried ingredients along with honey to create our flavored honeys that you can use on as a sauce or syrup. Okay, lots of
Gotcha.
syrups.
Yeah. And what
Yeah.
kind of flavors? What I know you have a variety of flavors. Can you walk us through some of them?
We sure can. So for our sodas, we have 2 caffeinated flavors. We have berry and peach. They also contain ashwagandha, L-theanine, and B vitamins. So it gives you a little stress relief and mental focus. And I know everybody's going to be like, okay, I want that. We all need that during the day.
Mhm.
And then we have our non-caffeinated flavors that are strawberry, watermelon, and apple. And then on the honey side, for the sauce and syrups, we have chocolate, garlic, which kind of people are like garlic, but it's amazing. It's my best seller. We've got our hot honeys, peach habanero, raspberry jalapeno, and they're really great to use on things like grilled meats. You can use them on desserts, breakfast items, all kinds of things. They're all the products that we have are allergy friendly. We're gluten free, free of artificial dyes, colors, and flavors, and we use clean ingredients. And we're also alpha gal friendly, which is a whole nother story. If you want to know what that is, look it up.
All right, the alpha gal friendly. Okay, we'll get into that. I mean, honey is so big right now. Both honey infused with a whole bunch of different things. Hot honey, like you said, is very big, but it's also big across categories because of the health benefits too. In fact, we had our cough, cold, preventative and allergy session at ECRM in January, and the 2 Buyer's Choice Award winners were had honey as a key
Yeah.
ingredient. So it's just, can you talk a little bit about the health benefits, and then we'll get into the origin of the company.
Yeah, absolutely. So honey has so many benefits, like if you're in the health and beauty, obviously for antimicrobial,
Mhm.
antibacterial, but also you have just so many benefits to your own health internally as far as the way that our body processes honey is different than it processes white sugar or corn syrup. A lot of people are trying to get away from those types of things because it's linked to obesity, whereas honey is not. It helps you with sleep. It just helps you with, has amino acids in it. There's just so many benefits from honey to people.
Yeah, and it's been big. I mean, there are a lot of, I think it's the Hadza, or there are a lot of hunter-gatherer tribes that are still around that they will climb trees, and they will not risk, they will deal with getting stung
Yeah.
to get the honey. It's prized with a lot of them because of obviously the flavor, but the benefits too.
Right. It's a natural ingredient. It's a
Mhm.
natural substance, so you don't have to do anything to it really other than filter it and you're ready to go.
Yep, and it's delicious.
Yeah.
Where do you source your honey? It's from your own farms or from?
So we do raise bees,
Mhm.
but we have to have honey on a commercial level. So
Mhm.
all honey comes from the Midwest. It's all U.S. produced, and we know all of the beekeepers that provide our honey for us. So we love that. Just keeping it in the honey community within the United States,
Mhm.
and knowing our beekeepers, having that sustainability, and in keeping bees going because that's where we get all the rest of our products from.
Yep, yep. All right, so now let's get into the origin and what's behind the head chick title, because that I found was a very interesting story.
Yes. So I started a farm, and it was pasture raising chickens. So we did meat birds. We still do meat birds, raise meat birds on pasture. They're all organically done. And so I wanted a catchy name. And of course, a catchy name would be Naked Chicks Pasture because they're organically raised. There's no chemicals or antibiotics in them. And so that was great. I mean, I had a farm. I didn't have a website. It was all word of mouth in our local area. Just raising these chickens. Everybody understood what we were doing from the name. And then we started developing the drinks and selling those at farmers markets, things like that. And obviously, as you grow, you're developing a website. And yeah, so people started coming back to me being like, I was looking for your website and I didn't find the things that you were selling. And I was like, what's the problem? Like, what were you typing in? And they were like, naked chicks. And I
Yeah.
was like, no, it's nakedchickspasture.com. So it was really, we began realizing that people were finding things they shouldn't be
It was
finding.
buried
When,
between under a whole bunch of other links with
yeah,
naked
when
chicks.
looking for honey sweetened soda, you're not, you don't want to come up with that.
Mhm.
So, especially when you're at work, we had a lot of people saying I was at work doing that. So yeah, we found it was really necessary to rebrand and came up with Yes Honey. It made a lot more sense. A lot of people, I think, especially on RangeMe, might have been just curious of like, what the heck is this brand? Like, what's Naked Chicks? Not sure what they're going to come up with, but knowing it's going to be safe on RangeMe. But yeah, I think probably they were surprised that it was a soda brand.
Yeah, yeah, and that brings up a good point. So you started on Range Me with the Naked Chicks Pastures brand.
We did, yeah.
And then, but I mean, I'm sure in the description you had the keywords talking about honey and the drinks and the beverages as well as the drizzlers. But still, if they just see that name, it's different. Yes, honey. You have Naked Chicks Pastures and you have Yes, honey. I mean, one of them is very obvious what it is, and it's a very cool, flashy name for a brand. I think it's a great name.
Yeah.
Um, so what happened with the rebrand? Like, so tell us how it went from when you made the transition, the engagement that you had on Range Me in transitioning the brand.
Yeah, so originally, like you said, on Range Me, I had it under Naked Chicks Pasture, and you could go on there, obviously, see that it was a soda and that.
Mhm,
And, we were getting engagement. People were looking, I was submitting, but it was very, um, it was minimal.
mhm,
Uh, so then, not only for Range Me, but also for my company personally, when we
mhm.
did rebrand from that the month of the rebrand to the next month, we doubled in sales
Wow.
in that month, and so I think people were able to much more easily identify what the product was. Oh, this has honey in it because with Naked Chicks, like you just what's in it, I don't know. And so we also saw a really strong incline in visibility when on Range Me. So when I changed our banner, changed our name, obviously people are thinking honey, so
Mhm.
they go and they're like looking for something with honey. So that made a lot of sense. So it allowed us to um, I think probably just be able to get more meetings. I was able to go through ECRM to Florida, meet with companies like HEB, Vitacost, who are truly interested in the brand.
Mhm.
They had some suggestions that we're actually working on right now on how to kind of level up our product, our packaging, and become kind of like that national brand. Whereas, when you're first starting out, you're either a local brand, regional brand, whatever it is.
Mhm.
Um, and so, you end up having to go through some changes in order to satisfy what the larger stores want and need.
And I think you bring up a really, really important point, right? So just to let everybody know, Heather got the meetings. These were through immediate opportunity campaigns where you apply for them. We have a section on Range Me where you could submit your products to the ones that are relevant. Then the buyers at these retailers will search through, they'll check out the profiles, they'll check out your products, and then they'll make their selections for a further a meeting, a follow-up meeting Some cases it's virtual, some cases it might be at their office or headquarters, and some cases they're in conjunction with an existing ECRM session. So
Yes.
we'll have the session where we have the buyer and seller meetings, but then those buyers would actually take on meetings with, just where there people like Heather would come in just for that meeting. So that's what those are. So and you participate, you submit to a lot of those. I talk a little bit about your activity because you don't get to be number two on the RangeMe top brands unless you have a lot of buyer activity on your site, and a lot of that buyer activity is driven from the immediate opportunity and submissions that you've done. So talk a little bit about how you use RangeMe yourself.
Yeah, personally for me, I'm usually on RangeMe about 3 times a week.
Mhm.
Just kind of looking at what are the new opportunities, who's in category review, what kind of goes with my brand, right? Because you're not going to submit to everything. I'm not going to submit to, cosmetics because that's not, what I sell. So I just look through, and anything that looks like it's going to match my brand and my products, I'm going to submit to that.
Mhm.
And it has allowed us, we've had a lot of acceptances. And, sometimes you go through kind of, you're excited about that acceptance, but then you're like, okay, maybe this isn't the right fit for me at this time. It doesn't mean that you'll never get accepted to anything else again, but you have to make sure that you are um, not overstepping kind of like what you can
Mhm.
handle as a brand, because
Mhm.
going into some of these stores can be expensive, and you have distribution, things like that. So just kind of filtering through
Mhm.
the requests that you get. Sometimes, like you had mentioned, sometimes you have video calls. I've had video calls with like Casey's, then like you said, the
Mhm.
ECRM actual in-person meetings. Some I've had grocery stores just email through RangeMe and request
Mhm.
samples, and just kind of filtering through those, seeing, does this connect well with my brand?
Mhm.
It's totally cool to research the company. Maybe it's a smaller company and you've never heard of it. You want to go and see, like, are they going to be able to sell my product? Is it going to work well? Is there going to be a synergy there? So,
Mhm.
um, yeah, we submit to as many things as makes sense for our.
Mhm. And then you touch on another important fact during the meetings is the feedback, right? I think a lot of new brands, they think that it's going to be one and done. You're going to meet with the retailer and then boom, you're in. No, it does not happen that way. It's a long process, especially with a large retailer. It's going to be a back and forth. And sometimes a brand's packaging or product in its current state is not a right fit for the buyer, but the
Yep.
buyer will be open about giving you feedback.
Yeah.
It's what you do with that feedback, and then you follow up, and then, they love to see you come back for that second meeting and say, hey, based on your input, these are some of the changes that we made. Check it out. How would they not love that?
Yes. Well, and I think that I think sometimes we have it, brands might have it in your mind. I think I did when I first started. I'm going to go on here and my brand, my product's going to be the best product ever. And I'm going to have so many people, coming and asking me for samples, and they're going to be flying me here and there. Like, you have that like pie in the sky dream
Mhm.
with your brand. Yeah, of course you do, because you're passionate about it. But the reality is, like, RangeMe is kind of like longevity. Like, it's about getting eyes on your brand. You having a lot of buyers looking at your brand, seeing the name, and they may not reach out for a year. Some of the meetings that I've taken, yeah, they were like, hey, I mean, currently we label our cans. So it looks very craft. But for some place like Sprouts, HEB, Whole Foods, they don't, that's not the look that they need or want. And so they're going to give you feedback. Hey, like, change this packaging. Maybe the wording needs to be a little different. Maybe the layout is off. There's whatever, but they know. Like, don't take it as a criticism. Take it as a positive. Like, they're trying to help your brand get better. They're not going to be like, well, you suck. And
Yeah.
it's all about helping you as a brand grow, and then it's what you do with it. Like, if I just am like, I think it looks great, I'm going to leave it the way it is, that's not going to be helpful. So the goal, obviously, is to get into those stores. And so taking that feedback and applying that as you can. And like you said, being able to go back to them and be like, hey, look at this is what you said to do, and I did it. And hopefully then that, helps the road to continue going forward. But
Yeah. And
I
it,
will I will say it one of my largest accounts it took 8 months. Like the
Mhm.
whole process from start to finish was 8 months. So like I said, it's about longevity. It's not
Yeah,
a quick thing that's going to happen overnight generally.
it's a marathon. It's not a
Yeah.
sprint. And what they have to realize is, let's say you come in and meet with a brand and they just finished their review for your category a month before. Well,
Yeah.
they're not even going to consider it for another 11 months. And
Right.
then if they decide to move forward, you're thinking another 11 months. So the
Yeah.
timing, and maybe they'll do a refresh, mid-year refresh or something, but they're thinking in terms of minimum 6 months. So 8 months is pretty fast to
Yeah.
get the whole thing done. And then you got to send samples to different levels of people. If they
Yeah.
work with a wholesaler, you got to send them samples. Any tweaks to the packaging. I mean, I've talked to people, one person in particular who is in some of your categories, but and I asked him, what was your longest and your shortest win? And he
Okay.
said his longest win took 6 years. He chased this particular buyer for
Wow.
six
That's
years of consistency and patience. His shortest was 6 months. And that
okay.
happened when he was sitting at an ECRM session at the networking dinner talking to another supplier about his product, and a buyer was sitting at the table and said, "Listen, I want that product."
Yeah.
Turns out it was Sam's Club,
Oh, wow.
and it ended up getting on the shelf in 6 months. So, but again, it's that patience and consistency and being, like you said, being out there, being in front of
Yeah.
them, and they also, you want to earn their trust because in the beginning they don't know who you are,
Yeah.
and they don't know if you have the capabilities to distribute. Too many people also, their eyes, and you talked about this before, and it's very good that you view it in this way already. But a lot of new brands, they want to go into 1,000 stores right off the bat,
Oh,
but
no.
they'll go bankrupt if it doesn't sell and they got to buy it back, or
Yeah.
so
Well,
transparency is important.
yeah, and it's so true. And I think that when you start a brand, you don't, I think most people, unless you've been in food and beverage or whatever category it is, you don't realize all of the, we'll say, hoops that you have to jump through. And so you think that it's just as easy as going and talking to a buyer, and then they're like, yeah, let's put the product in the store. And you don't think about how much money is this going to cost? Do I have the capability to grow this fast? Do I have distribution? Like all of those things. And so while we've maintained a um, consistent growth, it's also been very well planned
Mhm.
because I know that like we only have so much money that we can spend on this right now. And so my goal is not to be in debt. I don't want to have a company that's,
Mhm.
$1 million in debt. We've actually been able to be debt free so far.
Mhm.
Um,
That's
but
great.
it's, I think that that might be kind of unique in this category. And so yeah, just making sure that you can actually meet the demand and start small, like start locally, start regionally, maybe 10 stores, because
Mhm.
if you fail, like that's going to be less of a hit than if you're in
Mhm.
1,000 stores, right?
Yep.
Like they could pull your product and you're that's on you. That's not on them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, fail fast, fail small, and learn from it. And that's the other thing. I always say when you're meeting with a buyer, you come away with one of two things. Hopefully both, but at least one, right? So one is a follow-up that can lead to business.
yeah.
The other thing is learnings that will help improve your products and the way you operate.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like talk to as many people as you can because everybody has some insight and you don't know. And you
Mhm.
don't know who that person is. You don't know if that person is going to have a connection in some other way or you're going to be able to benefit them or vice versa. But just talk to as many people you can and glean. I always tell people this, like get as much information as you can because it'll just help you ultimately to have just information from lots of different people.
Excellent. Great. Well, I was going to ask you about best practices, but you've basically talked about a lot of best practices through that, so which is great. So, last question, what's next for Yes Honey? What could we expect in the future that you can tell us about?
Yeah. Oh, well, one big thing is we have a new flavor being released, and that will be coming out here by the end of February. We have ginger ale. So
Mhm.
it's our first traditional flavor, but so much better for you than anything with corn syrup or sugar or stevia. And then just continued steady growth. We're just working through marketing, working through just all of the things that come with a growing brand, and just continuing to be on RangeMe and take ECRM meetings, connecting with buyers and just plugging away.
Excellent. And then hopefully soon we'll see you at an ECRM beverage session.
Yes, that would be awesome.
Cool. Well,
You can hook
listen,
up.
but
Maybe you can.
I'll put you with the right people.
Okay, put in a good word for us.
I will. Well, listen, congratulations again. I think that's awesome news. It's something you should definitely be bragging about. I saw you
Oh,
posted it, you shared it on LinkedIn, but definitely that's a great thing. And I look forward to catching up with you in the future, maybe in New York when you're here.
yeah, sounds good. If anybody wants to look us up, we're at yeshoneybrand.com or on all social medias.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Congratulations again.
Thank you, Joe. So nice to talk to you.